Hello again, and thank you all for joining us for the on-campus housing assignments and move-in tips presentation. This is one of the fall 2019 pre-arrival webinar series offered by the University of Iowa International Student and Scholar Services. And so let us begin. If my thing works. There we go. So the pre-arrival webinar series is an optional webinar series giving information to new incoming international students about what life is going to be like here in Iowa City and preparing for your program here at the University of Iowa. So we're giving you information about how you can arrange your plans to travel and live in Iowa City, information about the orientation that you'll undergo once you come here, and some expectations and responsibilities that will be on you as a student, and also information about how you're going to transition to your student life here at the University of Iowa. All of our webinars are recorded and posted online at international.uiowa.edu/pre-arrival webinar. And so if you've missed any other webinars, or if you miss some in the future that you're interested in seeing, you can go to that website. It's usually about a week or two after the webinar, and you'll be able to listen to the webinar as many times as you like with subtitles on. So during our webinar here, if you encounter any difficulties at all, please let us know using the chat function. If you have questions related to our topic or questions about something our presenters say, please use the Q&A function to post your questions. And this is important because at the end of the presentation, we'll be able to answer those questions live as long as we still have time remaining. And typically we do. But any technical difficulties you have, put that in the chat function and I'll be able to help you without interrupting the presentation. One last note from me, have you received your I-20 or DS 2019 yet? If you haven't, make sure you go into your pre-arrival checklist in iHawk and complete your eShip global shipping fee. Once you've done this, we'll be able to mail your immigration document to you and you can apply for your visa. It is really important that you get this done early. We want you to get your visa as soon as possible, just in case there are delays at your consulate. It's going to be different everywhere, but we like to get students to apply for these things early. And if you have any problems at all with this process, please contact us at isss-orientation@uiowa.edu. So orientation is coming up. So an important date is the May 1st undergraduate acceptance deadline. Then your mandatory orientation. I think everyone attending today should be an undergraduate. So that's August 19th to August 23rd. And the actual fall 2019 semester will start on August 26th. And so with that, I'm going to pass it off to our presenters today and let them introduce themselves.
Awesome. Good afternoon. I'm Virginia Ibrahim Olin. I am our assistant director in University Housing and Dining, and I oversee the room assignments and housing contracts process. And my pronouns of reference are she, her, and hers.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Barefoot. I'm the coordinator for curriculum and assessment within University Housing and Dining, and I also use she, her pronouns.
Hello everyone, I'm Kendall Arthur. I use the pronouns he, him, his. I am one of the hall coordinators on campus, and I'm also international like you. I'm originally from the Caribbean island of St. Lucia.
And I suppose I should have introduced myself at the beginning. I'm Michael Borcheller. I'm the assistant director in ISSS, and I'm just here to make sure the webinar goes smoothly for our presenters. I'll ask some of your questions to them at the end of the presentation.
Great. So we'll start today by kind of overviewing our goals. So for this webinar, we're going to talk to you about an overview of what University and Housing and Dining is. We're going to talk to you about some of our upcoming housing deadlines and make sure we'll hit those so you know what deadlines you need to be prepared for. We'll talk about what the online room selection process looks like, introduce you to the resources within the residence halls, talk about arrival dates and move-in, and then at the end we'll have some time for live question and answers.
Okay, everyone. Welcome again to University Housing and Dining at the University of Iowa. Here at the University of Iowa, we have quite a bit of facilities and resources and support here for you. But let's just give you a little idea of what you'll be getting into once you arrive here in the fall semester. All right, so we have about 6,078 students who live on campus across 10 residence halls. We have about 158 RAs or resident assistants who are there to assist you. We have 14 living learning communities, which are very much communities or areas in which students of certain identities or backgrounds live together as well as learn together. There are 15 retail dining locations on campus, 3 marketplaces or cafeterias, if not dining halls, and 1 food truck in which options are very much able to be transported from one area to another. All right, and so these are many great things that we have here with University Housing and Dining.
So we want to begin today by making sure you know why you should live on campus. The first is location. You are conveniently located in our residence halls close to classrooms, activities, and recreational facilities and support. You can get anywhere around campus within 15-minute walk or a short bus ride, and our residence halls are also located close to downtown Iowa City, which has lots of wonderful options for arts and entertainment. Living in the residence halls will give you an opportunity to find your niche on campus. You are situated with fellow Hawkeyes. Some may be international students, some may be domestic students, some folks might be from the Iowa area, but there's a great way for you to connect with community and find a group of people that you can call your own during your time here at the University of Iowa. We offer fantastic support in our residence halls for you one-on-one and to the larger community. And that support comes in the form of both student staff, leadership activities, and professional staff that work in our residence halls. In the terms of safety, our residence halls are a very safe environment for you to live in. We offer 24-hour security and folks on call in the event of a crisis or a medical emergency. And we have several different layers of what that safety looks like, whether it comes down to individualized door locks and card access into the building, along with our formal partnership with the University Police Department.
Talking a little bit about some of our resources. We talked about resident assistants, and just to explain what that is a little bit more, resident assistants are a member of each residence hall floor. They are student staff members who have been carefully selected and trained, and their job is to assist their residents, who will be you, in adjusting to the halls in the University of Iowa. They get lots of training across different areas, are very knowledgeable about campus resources, and are really there to get to know you as an individual student so they can figure out what your needs are and help connect you to the most applicable resources. Outside of resident assistants, we also have hall coordinators and assistant hall coordinators. These are professionals that live in the buildings and support student success and engagement. They're there to help with everything from roommate conflicts and different pieces that are going on to helping you connect to the university, understanding what our different policies are. Kendall is one of our lovely hall coordinators. They do a really great job of helping support that student success. We also have support staff, so our hall secretaries, desk, custodial, and maintenance staff are all available for questions and directions. They're there to help with anything that kind of comes up, and if they don't know the answer to your question, they can point you to the people who do. And finally, we have embedded counselors within our residence halls. These are free, confidential resources for all residence hall students to be able to talk with one of our embedded psychologists, talk to a counselor if you are struggling to adjust or have questions or concerns or anything's going on. They are great resources and really love working with all of our students.
Okay, and so that being said, if let's say you are interested in working with University Housing and Dining, that's not something that's necessarily automatic. You need to apply so at least that way we know that you are interested, all right? And so on the screen right now is video what you need to do so you can make that happen. All right, head on to our website on the University of Iowa's site. Apply on there and make sure that you have like a secure browser. At least that way your information remains secure and safe. Once you apply, you'll be getting different prompts to let you know what steps by steps, what you need to do step by step, so that you can maneuver correctly. All right, and so be sure to double check and explore and personalize the different housing options so that way you're getting an opportunity or an experience that really works for you. Later on, you'll get an opportunity to select a room and a meal plan from our many options. Also on there, there'll be an opportunity to connect with community online. At least that way, you can see who's around you. You can see who exactly might be living here in the fall semester. And as soon as you get your confirmations, etc., we'll definitely look forward to seeing you move in and check in on campus in the fall semester as part of On Iowa. All right, that will be an opportunity for you to be settled and also to get more answers and support once you get here. And it's that way that we are supporting you as you transition yourself into college.
So to overview the online application steps, our housing application opened in October and it will remain open until the end of May. And so what you'll need to do, as Kendall mentioned, is access the application through our website. You can go on through MyUI, and within your admissions profile is where you'll be able to see the housing application. You'll verify your personal and community emergency contact information. We hope that we never need to use it, but just in case, we ask anyway. You'll agree to the housing contract terms and conditions, and if you're under the age of 18, your parent will need to give permission. You'll have to pay a $75 non-refundable application fee with a credit card, and your admissions fee, if that happens to be deferred, you will have your $75 fee deferred to your September U-bill, so you wouldn't have to pay immediately. And then lastly, the most important thing is you actually need to hit submit in order to reserve your place in line to participate in room selection next summer.
Great. So exploring and personalizing your experience. So we have lots of great options for living in our residence halls. We encourage you to check out our living learning communities, our honors program, and all of our different residence halls. If you're interested in a living learning community, that application is due May 1st. So there's a supplemental application for that asks you 3 pretty simple questions just to look at and see why you're interested in the community and what you're hoping to gain from it. Students who are accepted in living learning communities will be notified in mid-May. You can also learn about your ADA/medical accommodations. ADA stands for Americans with Disabilities Act. We'll talk a little bit more about this in the next slide, but the priority deadline for those requests is May 15th. So it's really important that if you have any type of accommodations that you let us know about those by May 15th. So we have the ability to best work with you and make sure that you're supported in your residence hall environment. Last, you'll complete the lifestyle questionnaire and search for a roommate. The lifestyle questionnaire helps you to think about things that you want within your residence hall environment and what you want within your room. So as you were looking at potential roommates, we can connect you with someone who is compatible with you. And all roommate requests, if you meet someone and you know you want to live with them, all roommate requests are due by May 31st.
All right, so as Daniel said earlier, we're more than happy to help you and assist you based on your situation. And so right now we're going to talk a little more about the American Disabilities Act and the need for medical accommodation. We are aware that students might need certain accommodations so that they can move in and get the most out of their living experience. And so we definitely work one-on-one with students with documented disabilities and medical equipment accommodations, just to make sure all those pieces are in place so that you can move in easily, all right? If let's say you have the need for dietary accommodations, we can also help you in terms of supporting specific diets, food allergies, as well as medical conditions, all right? And so that being said, if let's say you need to let us know of your situation, what you need to do is to go back into the portal where you applied, check.
Yes, I'm requesting an accommodation.
Yep. Yep. Yes, and that way we'll definitely send you the people that's needed of you so that you can let us know what you would like. And as always, the priority deadline for fall accommodations is May 15th, 2019. Be sure to submit all that you have by that deadline so we can make a timely decision in terms of how we can best support you, all right? And just as a heads up, if let's say, for example, you need accommodation outside of the residence halls, University of Iowa definitely can help make that happen. However, if you need accommodation in the classrooms, for example, you will need to contact Student Disability Services so that they can assist you. The accommodation we do in housing is for the residence halls, but student disability services, they do the other pieces outside of the residence halls. So make sure you're knowing of that, so you can also work with them if, let's say, you need that kind of support as well.
So after you've submitted all of your documentation and give us your preferences in the month of May, in the month of June is when online room selection will take place. Your room selection date and time will be based on the order your housing application was received. And if you are a student that chose to join a living learning community, you will only pick a room in that particular living learning community. And that way it ensures that you're able to live on that floor and take the course and comment associated with that particular living learning community. We receive a number of questions about how to participate as an honor student, and all honor students will automatically be eligible to select a room in Dom Hall as space allows. And it's important to be aware of this because there are many more honors students that are coming on campus than can live in Dom Hall. And so we have honors students that live in every single one of our 10 residence halls. They are still fully engaged with the honors program. They're able to achieve very high academically and have a great experience on campus. So if you are participating in the honors program, you may have the option to pick a room in Dom Hall. It will really depend on the students who applied for housing before you, and if there is space in Dom when it is your turn to request a room.
So room rates for the 2019-2020 school year are available online. They have not quite been finalized yet, but these are projected room rates for next year. As you can see, we have a variety of different room styles and different rooms based on where people are living. So again, you can look at all of those, and these will be finalized and put online on our website for you to look at for the year.
All right, and so on the previous slide, you probably saw something called Hawkeye dollars, and so we thought we'd explain to you what exactly that means. What that means is that as part of your meal plan, $100 per semester is added to your university ID card. So think of it as like virtual cash, all right? And so that being said, with that virtual cash, you can go do a lot of different things with it on campus. So for example, you can use it to swipe to your laundry, you can use it to get items out of the vending machines, or even on campus, we have a few convenience stores, and so you can use it as well over there to get the different snacks or whatever you need.
After you have selected your room, you will receive information about renter's insurance and picking your meal plan. And renter's insurance is an option for you to have protection for your belongings. The university covers our building and it covers all of our furniture, but if there was an incident in the residence halls where there may have been a fire or a small flood, some unforeseen event that damaged your belongings, renter's insurance can be helpful in replacing your belongings for you. And so we will provide you information about a company called GradGuard. You can choose to acquire renter's insurance through GradGuard. It's about $110 for the full year. Or you can choose to use another company. We are okay with whoever you want to use for renter's insurance. We just want you to make sure that you are informed that if there was an emergency and your things were damaged, that the university would not pay for replacing your computer or your clothing. You also will select a meal plan, and we have 3 different options for our meal plans. They are the Gold, the Black, and the Hawkeye. If you live in a residence hall room, you will likely select the Gold or the Black, but if you happen to have a room that also has a kitchen involved, and so that would be at Mayflower or in just a handful of apartments that are in Hillcrest, you would be eligible for the Hawkeye plan. And each meal plan comes with marketplace meals, some flex meals, and then guest meals. And a flex meal is interesting because it can be used at either a marketplace or a retail dining location. And we'll teach you how to use your meal plan once you arrive on campus. You will also have the option to change your meal plan in the future if your meal plan doesn't quite work with your schedule.
Dining accommodations. We mentioned earlier that if you have any food allergies or dietary restrictions, we work to support those. So we have a lot of very talented chefs who will work with students individually to figure out what they most need so that you can eat in our dining halls. There's individual meal preparation available to limit cross-contamination. We also have a registered dietitian named Laura who works for all of our students but can do individual appointments and do review dietary need forms and documentation. She's also just a great resource if you're ever interested in talking to someone about maybe changing your diet or wanting to eat differently. She works and does those one-on-one consultations with students for those as well.
All right, and so right now, so after looking at the information you've just gotten, now you're ready to move in. You might be wondering, what do you do? All right, and so please remember that international students can move in as early as Saturday, August 17th. That's because you need to get here well before classes start for your mandatory international orientation. Please remember that early arrival charges will be at the rate of $35 a day or $105 in total. All right, just as a heads up for you, standard moving dates and times assigned are really based on the room and building, and so please take note of the dates in front of you. Tuesday, August 20th, Wednesday, August 21st, and Thursday, August 22nd. On Iowa will then proceed, and that's a very interesting opportunity for you to make friends, connect with other students around you, discover Hawkeye traditions, as well as to commit to the Iowa Challenge. It's always a very good way to get a start to Iowa, and so I would definitely encourage you to sign up for that.
And as you're preparing for your August arrival in time for that August 19th orientation, your packing list can include a number of things. We want to make sure that you know that all of your rooms are furnished. They have an extra long twin bed. They come with a dresser, a desk, a chair, a mirror, some window coverings, and all of your utilities are included. That is heat, water, electricity, air conditioning. Every single one of our residence halls has both heat and air conditioning to accommodate for the Iowa weather. And it also includes internet, both wireless and if you wanted to plug in for internet, you could bring an Ethernet cord as well. We have a full packing list on our website. It's pretty hefty, but it helps you understand what to bring, maybe what's not allowed. And just in case you forget anything, we do have shopping nearby if something doesn't fit in your suitcase, but you know that you might want to have an extra pillow while you're here on campus. So we're going to transition into a period now where we are going to answer some frequently asked questions. But first, we'll talk about break housing.
Yep, so break housing. Over Thanksgiving and spring break, the residence halls are open at no additional charge, but you must register with us in the hall so we know that you're here. We like knowing who's around and all of those pieces. So there is an application that's sent out before those that reminds students to register to let us know that we're here. Over winter break, you must apply and pay an additional $300 fee that's charged to your review bill, and this will cover the entire break from December to January. So if you want to stay in the residence halls over winter break, that is a possibility. Students that do not stay in the halls over break do not need to move their belongings out of their room. So once you've moved in for the year until the summer when you go to leave. So you don't have to remove all of your belongings over winter break.
Now for FAQs. Kendall, please take it away.
Yes, so ever so often, when students are applying for campus housing, they do ask the question, do I have to pick a roommate? All right, and so what we can tell you right now is no, you do not have to. Only in the application process, only about 30% of Hawkeyes actually request a roommate at that time. All right, and so if let's say you do not select a roommate, you will have the option to look at other options during the online selection just to figure out something that works for you. All right, and so another thing we'd like to let you know is that if you are the first person to pick a room, your new roommate will select you.
Now, sometimes we have students who ask, can I request 2 roommates? And no, our roommate requests are just limited to 1 fellow Hawkeye. The triple rooms are limited across campus, so it's really best to plan on having a double room assignment, you and 1 other student. As a gentle reminder, all roommate requests must be mutually confirmed online by May 31st, 2019. And we will certainly send you a reminder when those dates are approaching.
Now, you might be asking, what are some good tips for living with a roommate? So we've kind of compiled pieces based on what we've seen in the residence halls and have put them into these 5 tips. So first, we recommend you really try to get to know your roommate. If you have the opportunity to have a conversation with them before you move in, that's great. Go ahead and start that communication. If you can't, that's also okay. But just take the time to get to know who your roommate is, what they like, what they don't, what they want the residence hall room to look like, all of those pieces. Second, take your roommate agreement seriously. So within the first couple of weeks, your RA will be coming around and talking with you and your roommate about a roommate agreement. Essentially, this is a contract that you and your roommate come up with together to talk about how you want the room to be, where you can talk about overnight guests, talk about all these different pieces, things, temperature, all the things you need to feel comfortable in your room, and you work together to come up with a compromise that works for both of you. So take that seriously and know that that's a document that can be edited throughout the year if something comes up. Third, we talk about assuming goodwill with your roommate. If a disagreement happens or something comes up or something is frustrating you, we really encourage you to assume good intent in that and assume that the person is not trying to be malicious or rude towards you, but assume that everyone wants to live together productively and assume that goodwill. 4, we really recommend open and direct communication, and we can't stress this enough. If you are having a difficulty with your roommate, we really want you to talk with them about it and have that open communication to talk about the issues so you have the ability to work together and live together productively. And if at any point in time you're having trouble with that, you can also utilize your resident assistant for support and what the mediation piece is. And lastly, remember that all relationships take time. It can take time to figure out how to live with each other, and if something feels awkward for the first couple of days, that's totally normal. We recognize that it's not always easy living with other people, but we encourage you to kind of take that time, again, work to get to know your roommate in those pieces, and know that you are never alone, and if you need support, that resident assistant and the hall coordinators are there to support you.
Now, another question we always get is, are all buildings co-ed? Yes, all of our residence halls are open to students of any gender. However, one thing we'd like to let you know is that there are some buildings that have single-gendered floors or wings, and these are Birch, Courier, Hillcrest, and Reno. The rest of our buildings have mixed-gendered floors, and those are Catlett, Dom, Mayflower, Peterson, Stanley, and Slater.
People often ask, what are the bathrooms like? And we have 3 different types of bathrooms in our residence halls. We have community style, single user, and suite style bathrooms. And the community, in all of the bathrooms, you have privacy to handle your daily schedule. They just may have the facilities laid out a little bit differently. In a community style bathroom, it's a locked access bathroom. They're single gender and they're shared between 12 and 15 students. And so what you would see is you would see a row of toilets, a row of sinks, and a row of showers. And the showers and the toilets all have doors that latch on them so you can have privacy. Those community style bathrooms are located in Burge, Courier, Hillcrest, and Reno Hall. We have single user pod style bathrooms. Those are more similar to what you might have in an individual house. And again, those are locked access, but they're open to any gender. They're shared between 12 and 15 people. They're only used by one person at a time, but there may be a series of 5 or 6 of these individual little bathrooms in a hallway. And they have one sink, one shower, and one toilet, all in a room behind a locked door. And those single-user bathrooms are located in Catlett, Dom, Peterson, Slater, and Stanley Hall. And then in Mayflower Hall, it's a suite-style building. And so there are 2 resident rooms with a kitchen and a bathroom in between. And that bathroom has 2 doors on it. There are 2 sinks, there's 1 shower and 1 toilet. So you have adequate privacy, but you only share it between just a couple of students.
Now, you might be asking if you can change your meal plan. Absolutely. So in the first 2 weeks of the semester, we allow for meal plan changes to happen. So if you realize that you aren't eating as much as you thought you were going to, you can move to a different one. Or if you realize you want to eat some more, you can do that. One thing we tell you to think about is if you typically eat breakfast, go for the Gold Unlimited plan. It's probably the best option for you, and it gives you the most opportunities to eat within the residence hall or dining halls.
Okay, now we'd like to talk about what the process or what our timeline is when it comes to your arrival or even the application process, all right? And so our application has been open for a while, opened on October 2nd last year. As of the deadline of May 1st, that'll be your deadline to apply for living learning communities. If let's say you need ADA accommodations, and the priority deadline for that is May 15th, and the roommate request deadline is May 31st. So please know that these different deadlines are coming up quickly, and so you'll need to act and just let us know what you need as well as to submit paperwork so that you can meet those deadlines. All right. After all of these pieces, the deadline to select a room online will be in June, and you'll have until as of July to get to know your roommate as well as the faculty members assigned to you, depending on what living option you chose. All right. International student arrivals, that starts as of August 17th, and move-in and on-arrival will be from August 20th to 22nd. Once again, please know that many of those deadlines are fast approaching, and so if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to us. That way we can support you in the application process and before you arrive here on campus.
Just a reminder about our anticipated costs for 1920. This is a total snapshot of a room, a black meal plan, and your 200 Hawkeye dollars, broken down based on which type of building you might live in. In one of our traditional halls, you can budget for approximately $10,485. If you were to live in a double room in Mayflower, you'd be looking at $11,321. And if you lived in Peterson or Catlett, which are our newer buildings, you could budget for approximately $11,521. Again, all of our rates will be finalized by the Board of Regents in May, but this at least allows you to plan for what you might be able to receive.
Some final tips to consider. Remember, room selection is on a first come, first served basis. So you will be impacted by those who submitted applications before you, and you will impact the students who submitted applications after you. We really encourage you to be flexible and open to multiple housing options, because by the time our room selection process comes forward, you're only going to be able to see the rooms that are still available. Again, we talked about this earlier, but all roommate relationships take time and communication. So if at any point in time you're struggling with your roommate, please remember to have that open communication and to really work to try and build that relationship. Another thing, students should be the primary person submitting applications and communication to UH&D. We know that some of y'all might have family or an agency that's involved in helping you work through those pieces, but really we want to work with you as a student to be that primary person for all of our communication and application. And last, we really encourage you to live on campus for 2 years. We have a really vibrant returning student population who likes to live on campus for second year, and we definitely have space if you want to continue to live on campus with us. Other perks for being on campus for a second year is you tend to have a higher GPA, and you can connect more to the campus community, really engage in that second year.
Yeah, so in a bit we'll be allowing you to ask us some questions. However, if you have questions after this webinar, that's totally fine. We're more than happy to assist in different ways. If you're here in town and you want to speak to someone in person, feel free to stop by Burt Hall. We're open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. If you need to call someone to get a live voice, our phone number is 309 area code 365 3000. And we respond to emails all the time, and our email address is housing@uiowa.edu. So make sure you use that information to get your questions answered. We're more than happy to assist you before you get here on campus.
And now it's time for your questions. And so Michael will help moderate for us. We know that you've had a number that you've been posting in the Q&A section, and we look forward to helping you as best we can.
And I just posted this message in the chat, but for those who arrived late, you can ask your questions using the Q&A function in Zoom, and we'll go through those and answer them live. And we're going to start with a question. Should I apply for other LLCs beforehand in case I don't get space in DOM or honors housing?
I think if you are interested in joining one of the other living learning communities, I would certainly recommend that you do that. I think it's important to be aware that space in DOM is extremely limited. And if you've submitted a housing application, depending on the date when you applied, the likelihood of you getting a room in DOM may vary significantly. And so if there's a living learning community that you find intriguing, I would say go for it, and go for the living learning community, because then you could participate in the LLC and still be a member of honors through your coursework and through some of the honors program activities, and you'll have a more well-rounded experience here on campus.
Fantastic. Okay, so here's a kind of technical question that I think I know the answer to, but I'm hopeful that you guys do because I'm not positive. Are you able to apply for university accommodation if you haven't yet completed the full University of Iowa application?
So for this individual person who's writing in, when you say apply for accommodation, do you mean can you apply for housing if you have not accepted your admission to the University of Iowa?
I think they haven't even completed their full application to the University of Iowa yet.
Okay. Well, if you have not applied to the University of Iowa yet and you have not been admitted, then no, you cannot apply for housing until after you've been accepted as a University of Iowa student. You'll need your university credentials in order to log into your application and submit all the materials. So, but once you're accepted, we'd be happy to have you apply for housing.
And just in case I misunderstood the question, if you're asking if you can apply for housing before you complete the information in IHOC, the immigration information, you can apply for housing before you do the things in IHOC. It's absolutely fine for you to apply for housing before you get your visa, but you should do it as soon as possible. Okay, another question here. So this person was actually able to visit the university, and while they were visiting, they heard, so I'm going to kind of read their question here. They heard from one current student that someone else can potentially choose your room for you. And the situation is that if someone selects you as their preferred roommate, and they also select the room, would you have to accept that room, or would you have to accept that roommate?
So the first thing that comes is your roommate request. So if you and another student have agreed to be roommates, then the first of you two that has the opportunity to pick a room will pick on behalf of your roommate pair. Ideally, if you have said to this person, yes, I'm excited to be your roommate, and you officially accept their roommate request online, you will trust whatever room they have selected for your roommate pair. However, when it is your turn to select a room, if life has changed and you have decided that you no longer want to be a part of that roommate pair, or you don't want to live in the room that that person has selected for you, when it is your room selection time, you could change your room assignment if you wanted to. You just wouldn't, the likelihood of you being able to live with that other person is just decreased because it may be hard to find another room for two people. It's a complicated and very nuanced answer. So my recommendation is if you're going to be roommates with someone, say yes and trust the room that they might pick for you.
Okay. So the next question is about the pod-style bathrooms. And the person wants to know if the 5 to 6 pod-style bathrooms are enough for 12 to 15 people to share.
Yeah, in general, we find that students aren't really waiting for restrooms because everyone tends to have different times that are needing to use them. The other thing that's nice with the pod style is for some reason, if all of them on your floor are busy, you're in a residence hall that has multiple other floors, so you can go up a floor or down a floor if you're really struggling or need one. But we don't tend to have any concerns from students saying that they're not able to use their restrooms when they need to.
We have two follow-ups to previous questions. So the first is the person who was talking about the LLC. They want to know if they need to keep honors as an option on the application.
No, honors is actually not an option that you can request on the application. There's only a separate, there's only the other communities that are listed, and that is because we will automatically know if you have been accepted to the honors program, and as a result automatically give you access to try to select a room in Dom Hall. So honors should not be an option that you can select on your application. If for some reason it has shown up on yours, send us a private message or an email so we can follow up on where you're applying for housing, because it might not be Iowa. Yeah.
Fantastic. Our other follow-up is regarding the person who hadn't completed the application. It turns out they're an exchange student, and so they've been nominated by their university, but their exchange student stuff hasn't yet been done. So what's the order of operations for applying for housing there?
So as an exchange student, once you've been accepted into your exchange program, and admitted to the University of Iowa through that exchange program, then you should be issued University of Iowa credentials and be able to still submit a housing application for University Housing and Dining. We work very closely with International Student and Scholar Services to make sure that we have rooms reserved for folks in exchange programs to make sure. So we look forward to having you live with us on campus once you come.
And I'll just say that the person in International Student Scholar Services who works directly with exchange students is Lee Seedorf. And if you haven't been in contact with her yet, she'll probably be in contact with you shortly. Okay, so we have some other questions that are popping up. Somebody wants to know, when they move in, is there any help available for them? Will they get any help when they move in?
Yes, there is lots of help available. So we have volunteers each year who are returning students or community members who are around to help you move your items in. So we have a plethora of people who are there to help you lift pieces. I know that there are some families last year who literally didn't lift anything in their own belongings because there are so many volunteers who are around to help. We also have carts that are available for checkout in our residence halls. So if at any point in time you need to get a cart or a bin to help you move your things, you can get those there. So there's lots of help and support while you're moving in.
I think the only important thing to note is that if you happen to come on the 17th or on the 18th of August, that's when all our move-in volunteers are also moving in. So if you are coming on an early arrival day, you would have to move your own belongings. But we'll have carts available for you to be able to utilize.
Another good question we've got here is it possible to send my luggage ahead of time? Can I send my luggage to my room ahead of time?
You can ship your belongings to campus, but we ask that it arrives when you arrive. Our mail rooms are not very big, and we know that some of your suitcases are quite large. And so if all of you were to send your suitcases ahead of time, it would take up quite a bit of space. So please plan, if you are going to ship belongings, to ensure that it arrives right around that same time that you will be here on campus.
Okay. Here's a question I don't know if I've seen before. Is there halal meat available in the dining halls?
There is available, or there's halal meat available in Catlett. I know at their burger station. I'm trying to remember for the other pieces, but our dining halls in general have, again, lots of different options. Again, we talked about if there are specific dietary restrictions that you need, or dietary needs that you have, you can always reach out to Laura and she can work with you individually. But I do know that we have halal meat available.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the time of year and the conversation that you might need to have with either Laura, our dietitian, or the head chef at the marketplace or the manager where you're going to be eating most common. Halal meat is not available in every single location all the time, but if it's high holidays, they'll work to help with that. On that same note, though, our kitchens are not certified kosher, and that's important if you happen to maintain a kosher lifestyle.
Fantastic, thank you. Another question is, if I want to choose a single room with a pod-style bathroom, what is the configuration?
It is possible that during online room selection, if there is a single room available in a building that happens to have single user or pod-style restrooms, that you could select that. I want to be very clear, though, that single rooms are not very common on our campus. It can be quite difficult to get a single room because many students who are living on campus for their second or their third year will pick rooms before you as a new student. Additionally, the majority of our rooms are just double rooms, so you should anticipate having a roommate. I think that that's very important for you to be prepared for. Yeah.
Okay. Good question here. When do they have to pay for housing, and do they have to pay for a whole year at a time?
Your housing is billed by the semester, and so if you are going to be here for the full academic year, your first housing payment will come on your August 1st university bill, right along with your semester tuition, and that is due towards you typically around August 22nd, and paid through. It's again for the semester, and then in January, your January 1st university bill will have the charges for your spring semester, and that will be due January 22nd. And your U-bill can be paid centrally through our billing office. They have some really great YouTube videos on how to make sure that you are making your university bill payments.
We've got some more questions here, but I just wanted to make a quick plug. Thank you everybody for attending, and we have a survey that we'd love for you to fill out to let us know how we're doing or if there's anything you want to know but can't get. And so I'm just going to quickly send that link in the chat, and then I'm going to move on to our next question, which is, if I don't choose my roommate, will I be assigned somebody with the same major that I have?
No, not necessarily. If you do not choose a roommate, it is possible that, if you pick a room and there's not a roommate assigned, that someone who is selecting a room after you would choose you as their roommate. And people choose roommates for a variety of reasons. We do not assign specifically based on major if our staff wind up making your room assignment.
What does the flex mean in the flex meal plan?
Yeah, so flex basically means that, basically meals on the go, if that makes sense. And so what that means is that you are able to go into that convenience store, you're able to use your card and take meals on the go with you to back to your room, class, etc. Whereas in the dining halls, it's not flex because once you swipe in, you need to actually sit there to have that meal. Mm-hmm.
We have a follow-up again about the LLC and honors. I think we're just trying to clarify it. So if somebody applies for an LLC but gets accepted into Dom Hall, can they choose between honors and the LLC that they were chosen for?
That's a great question. So you actually will find out if you are admitted to a living learning community in mid-May, and that will take place. And you will actually have to decide before you know if you get into Dom Hall. And so in mid-May, you'll have to make a decision, either yes, I'm going to join this living learning community, or I'm going to kind of risk it and see if I'm able to get into Dom Hall when I pick my room in June. And the reason that you have to commit to the LLC ahead of time is because we need to get you registered for any courses that might be associated with your living learning community. And that all has to be done before room selection takes place. So there is a bit of an unknown factor that may come up. And that's why I would say if you have the opportunity and are accepted into a living learning community, that's guaranteed. And so I would recommend that you take the Living Learning Community, whereas during online room selection in June, it really is up in the air whether or not you'll actually get a room in Dom or would have a room in another building. So I hope that that helps you. I know that trying to navigate the unknown can be complicated, but it's part of the adventure. And no matter where you wind up, you're bound to have a great experience.
Okay, thank you. We only have 2 more questions, but we do have time, so if you have more questions, keep them coming in. Question is there any prayer room in the residence hall?
You are able to pray in your individual rooms, and we have a prayer room at the Iowa Memorial Union for you to utilize. Additionally, there are a number of faith communities located right next to campus, so depending on what your faith tradition is, you could always pop into one of those places of worship for your prayers.
All right, and the last question we currently have submitted, and one I've wondered about, why is the dorm called a residence hall?
Oh.
I'll go for that one. So a residence hall, sorry, trying to figure out how to go through this question. Essentially, we call them residence halls because we don't want you to think of it as just a place where you're going to be sleeping. The residence halls really are a very involved environment and community. You get to meet your neighbors, you get to build relationships with people, you get to really kind of explore and learn more about yourself and get build those relationships and engage in community. So all of that happens within the residence halls, whereas dorms are kind of an outdated term that come more from the 60s and 70s. And talking a lot about places where people just sleep. So as we rebranded and reimagined what residence hall living looks like, we wanted to change that name away from the dorm and away from this is just a place where you sleep, because the residence hall is really a place where you engage, it's a place where you learn, and it's a place where you get to build relationships.
Okay. So thank you everybody for all the questions that have been submitted. We've gotten through all of those, and let me see here. You only have a few slides left, and so I'm going to ask just to advance the slide here. So if you have other questions about the pre-arrival checklist or other issues about coming here or issues that you might have before arrival, please contact us at isss-orientation@uiowa.edu. And you can always visit the ISSS website for new international students to get more resources. Please remember, this is just one of many pre-arrival webinars. Our next webinar is on April 26th. That's going to be getting started and making your travel arrangements. So that's going to talk to you about doing the pre-arrival checklist, completing that if you have not done so already, and how you make your arrangements to get into Iowa City. And that is the end of our session. I just want to kind of throw it out to everybody and say thank you so much for presenting with us today. We really appreciate it, and thank you all for listening. If you haven't done so, please take a moment to do our survey that we shared in the chat, and have a great time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.